These guys are ridiculous. These guys are ridiculous.
Now, how about them damn Celtics?
And we are back with another episode of How About Them Celtics. Sam and I are here recording on Friday, August 11th. And I am in a hotel in Uncasville. I don't know how to pronounce the town that I'm
You're
in.
at Mohegan Sun. That's where you are.
I'm at Mohegan.
That's
I'm
the
by
only
Mohegan Sun in Connecticut.
thing in that town, city
yes.
that matters. Sorry if you live there. But when you are on your GPS and you put it in, that's what you see. Mohegan.
Yeah, I'm right by Mohegan Sun.
That's the area.
I'm in town for the Hall of Fame proceedings for Spurs Wire because obviously it's Spurs event basically. It's Becky Hammond, it's Greg Pop, it's Tony Parker, even Paul Gasol played for the Spurs. So a little bit of everything here. Also for Bulls Wire, technically, if you want to make the D Wade Paul Gasol Bulls connections too. But went to the press conferences today. Driving up to Springfield tomorrow for the actual ceremony. A couple events in the morning. But if you hear me lagging at all or the podcast lags at all on my end, it's because I'm on hotel Wi-Fi and we're scraping by. We don't worry about it. We'll get through it. I promise.
I think you're okay. Just your picture might look funky every once in a while, but I can hear you fine. So that means fine. The pod should be able to hear you fine.
If I look funny, then I look funny, and you guys can make fun of me in the comments, which is I'll live with it. You guys can make fun of me in the comments, but we do have some some actual Celtics news to talk about today. And the first one is a redaction. Is it an update? What do we want to call this? Kristaps Porzingis
I would say
not hurt now magically.
Conclusion in an investigation is now complete.
Contradicting reports, I think, is more likely. So last podcast we reported that Kristaps Porzingis and the Latvian national team were considering sitting him basically and having him not play in the World Cup. That report came from, let me double check the name here just so I get it correct. It was a German reporter, I believe, Rupert Fabig of BIG Basketball in Deutschland, who reported it, saying that basically they were considering sitting Porzingis for the World Cup because he's dealing with a nagging foot injury. It wasn't so bad that they were completely shutting him down, but bad enough that they were weighing their options. And since then, the Latvian national team and other people saying he's fine, right? The LBS denies this information. Players' individual preparation plans, the team overall's training process are ongoing. The lineup for the match against the Dominican Republic will be announced on August 12th. Which is the day you're hearing this. So if you see Porzingis in the lineup, you'll know. But basically, Latvian basketball saying, psych, that's wrong. I don't know where he got the information. Porzingis is fine. So it wouldn't surprise me if Porzingis was like a little hurt, but Latvia's like, it's like, why did this get out? But it sounds like everything should be all right.
Yeah. So the Latvian national team straight up called fake news on this reporter, put him in his place.
Yeah.
And said, get ready to learn Chinese, buddy. Essentially, your reputation is in the toilet. And then not only did the team come out with a statement completely just throwing it to the side, saying that this is not true at all, but also Porzingis shared a video of him shooting threes, and he looks all right.
Yes.
The most I've seen of any kind of injury from Porzingis has been, of course, the initial story, and I think they said he was monitoring minor foot pain. That is what I remember last seeing. So, as Celtics fans, your concern should probably be around 2 out of 10. That's my feeling on it.
Yeah, it should be
You
good.
don't want him to be hurt. Foot injuries are nothing to play with, especially when you have that size 16 shoe. Your foot is as long as, I don't know, probably 16 inches. I think that's how that works. A lot of tension on the bones in the foot. A lot of pressure. So, big guys suffer from foot injuries more often. That is the conclusion. Take your choice of big man, especially Blazers. Bill Walton, Sam Bowie.
Pretty much. Poor Blazers. Blazers fans can't catch a break, but I will try to share this video of the super cool threes. No promises that it won't cause my Wi-Fi to go into a crash state. But we can take a look here. We'll test it out here. Porzingis shooting some really cool threes on Instagram. Is it playing? Is it laggy? Let me know. We're moving a little bit.
It's a little laggy, I think. Not
probably
positive,
not great.
But
you get the gist.
To his side,
you get the gist, though.
Knocking him down. Looks like he's moving okay. Doesn't appear to be in any sort of pain.
It looks fine. He looks like a 7'3" lad shooting some threes, which is exactly what the Celtics are paying for.
Key step-ins.
He's taking the shots, man. like you said, I think this should ease the concern of. I think he's fine, right? Like realistically, players are going to deal with injuries. We talked about this last podcast, and it's unlikely that he stays healthy the whole season. Like just realistically, if you want to be real about it, the chances of Porzingis having a 70 game season, even maybe 60 game, is probably not going to get to that goal. That's not what the Celtics necessarily need. They need a third star for the playoffs, realistically. And this isn't to say you don't want Porzingis to play in the regular season, but expecting him to have a fully healthy season is ignorant because he's just not going to have that.
Yeah.
So
power rankings.
I think the best case scenario.
Important moments to have Porzingis.
Go ahead.
Playoffs, regular season, preseason, FIBA, all the way down at the bottom. Couldn't care less about Latvia and their national team playing in the World Cup.
Sorry,
I would like to see him in Celtic green on the floor healthy. If it hurts their World Cup chances of maybe running into the U.S. and getting beat by 40, which seems to be what always happens to these international teams. Even though the U.S. team, not overly impressive, not a ton of star power per se in terms of what it could be on the floor for them. They play Slovenia, I think, in between when we record this and when this episode actually drops.
They play Luka soon. That's going to be a fun one. That's going to be very fun. You guys just got a taste of what Sam sees because I forgot to mute my mic and I just coughed directly into the microphone on the podcast.
I didn't even hear it. You might have skipped. Might have worked very well.
I probably peaked the microphone because I just right into it. I was gonna ask. You look at Porzingis next season. You talk about the injury risk. You look at that. What is the ideal number for you? We've talked about it when they signed
82.
him. Okay.
I think it kind of rule if he played every single game after this whole summer of not only like he gets traded to the Celtics and everyone's flipping out because everybody was upset because they traded Marcus Smart, who most of the fans here really loved. 2, the big knock on Porzingis throughout his career, he's injured. I believe Forbes had the stat yesterday that he missed 37% of all games he could have played in through his first 8 seasons. And he did miss an entire season. So I'd imagine that factors into it too. So that number might be a little bit inflated. And 3, now this whole FIBA fiasco with the foot. Is he hurt? Is he not hurt? How much would it rule if he just went out there and played every single game?
Imagine. No, but realistically, he hasn't played 70 games since his rookie season.
I would like to see him play 65, be able to qualify for awards in the NBA. That way, the Celtics fans can be like, we got an team player, whether it's all defense, which probably won't be, or all NBA. Would be kind of cool if he made all NBA. Probably won't happen either. Or even like some sort of award. I don't know what he would get. Most improved? No. He had the best season of his career. Who knows?
If the Celtics are good enough, he could be in line for a third All-Star. But then again, the game number doesn't matter as much. But he played 65 last year for the first time since his sophomore season. He played 72, 66, and then he's been 48 injured the whole season, 57, 43, 51, 34. So inconsistent since then. 65 last year. And a lot of people are concerned. And I'm not saying it's the same, but like sitting here and acting like the Celtics traded an every year 82 game player for an injury-prone player is also a little bit unfair. Because like, it's not like Marcus Smart has been the peak of health either, right? And this isn't going to be knock on Marcus Smart segment, right? Like I'm not going to sit here and say Marcus Smart wasn't healthy ever. He played 61 last year, 71 the year prior, 48, then 60. It's not like he's cracking 82. He's not Derek White. He's not like some of these guys who are consistently suit up. He's not Mikal Bridges, right? So
Mikal Bridges who played 83 games.
He just doesn't sit, which I love it. Respect. But I think I'd be happy with 55 sounds really low. So I'd probably go with 60. But if the 55 games he plays are a 55 game season where it's just him getting his due rest, him, having a couple minor things that keep him out for a week or so, then I'd be okay. I don't want him dealing with anything nagging. I think that's the biggest thing. I don't necessarily care about Kristaps Porzingis dealing with minor foot pain here, with a rest day here, with just little things throughout the season, because those things happen. if he's dealing with like a nagging thing, like a Robert Williams during the 2022 season, where it's affecting his play when he comes back, that's where I think the problem lies. So realistically, I don't really care how many regular season games Kristaps plays unless he plays like 20, because that's like a problem. But
I'd be heated if he only played 20 games.
I know.
All the people would
but
come in the comments section and be like, we were right. You guys are idiots.
I know. Of course, right? And they're going to do that anyways. But realistically, if you can play 50 to 55 games, high end probably around 65, 70, and 70 would be like the most since his rookie season. As long as they're not nagging injuries, I don't really care. As long as he's fine for the playoffs and he can play a full playoffs with maybe missing a couple games here and there if he's really having a rough season. If he's healthy for the playoffs, I don't care how many regular season games he plays, genuinely. Because I think the upside matters.
If he's out in the playoffs here and there, whatever. That's what we just said.
No, that's not what I mean. I want him to be healthy for the playoffs. I'll rephrase.
Okay. All right.
I meant the worst case scenario for the playoffs. No, let me start that over. They should handle the regular season so that the worst case scenario for the playoffs is he has to take a rest game, like in some, like he has to take a little time, like rest because he's dealt with something nagging all season.
How
But realistically,
if he had to take a rest game in like a must-win game, like a winner go home game,
that's not what I mean.
And he's just like
that's
on
not
the bench, they're like, yeah, he's a little tuckered out. He's got a suit on.
It's fine. Scrap the playoff talk. My point is, I don't care if he plays 50 games in the regular season as long as you keep him healthy. If it's a 55 games where he's not dealing with any nagging injuries and it's just minor things scattered, don't care. That's fine. That's fine because I think the Celtics can handle that and they'll be okay. So, but yeah, update from Porzingis.
They sure have the star power to handle it. They should be able to take on the burden of being without Porzingis. I think they've got the big man rotation with Rob and Al. It'll be interesting to see how they rotate those guys just with who's sitting tonight.
Absolutely. So update from Porzingis, Latvia basically saying, psych, that report is wrong. Please, fake news. So
yeah,
there is that. Next thing we have some Celtics schedule stuff that has come out. A few different Celtics schedule stuff. Sam, you wrote about the preseason for Celtics blog, so I'll let you kick that off.
Sure did. Expert analysis. So we're going to talk about a few games that we know the Celtics are going to be playing in this next 5 minutes or so, or may go longer. These 5 preseason games have all been confirmed by the team. They announced the schedule on Twitter. They open against Philadelphia at home on October 8th. NBA did them dirty. Preseason back-to-back. Travel to MSG the next day to play the Knicks. Then 2 days later, October 11th, they are back against Philadelphia, this time in Philly. And then 6 days, they play New York at the Garden on October 17th, and they wrap up on October 19th at Charlotte. Oddly enough, all 5 of these games are going to be in the NBA team's home arena. There's no like cool tour games going on. Like they're not playing in Providence at the Dunkin' Donuts Center or the AMP now. They changed the name. L name change, by the way. Dunkin' Donuts Center was a fire arena name. Now it's the Amica Mutual Pavilion. Ugh. Can't even say it how disgusting I am. Disgusted I am with it. But also, for whatever reason, the October 11th game is not on the radio. Not that it really matters. But as we head into preseason, the biggest eyeball emoji things to watch for, I would say, obviously not the stars. Jordan Walsh. It's going to be your first time to see Jordan Walsh take the floor with the real team. Had a great summer league. He was around 14 points a game, shot around 40% from 3, if not 40 on the dot. And he was the story of the summer. He impressed people around the league. He was making top 5 performance lists by national media members, standouts from summer league. Celtics picked him in the second round. So we'll see how well he does in the preseason. If he does play well, he could become a key piece of the Celtics rotation. And wing depth is something they've needed for the last couple seasons, so he could fill that role for them. Also, potential preseason storyline. Training camp battles. Because of this Champagnie waiving, they have the 2 roster spots open. We're putting out videos multiple times a week talking about what they could do with it. If Blake Griffin does sign back with the Celtics, which the team seems to hope he does, the confusion is on his end, whether he wants to be away from his family. There's still going to be an open roster spot. You have to imagine they're going to invite people to training camp, and you're going to see those guys fighting to earn the last spot on the roster. So, a few things to keep your eyes on the preseason. Also, via Sham, Celtics will play the Lakers in LA on Christmas 5 p.m. game. It is the primetime game of the slate. Biggest game of the day. This may ruin Christmas for me. The last couple times the Celtics have played the Lakers have not been very fun. Both games have been very close. I think they both went to overtime. One of them went to double overtime. That was the West Coast one. Good news from this, though. That's one less West Coast game that starts at 10. So good news on that front, but I'll be very stressed on Christmas. I don't want to have any chance of the Celtics losing a game against the Lakers on such a big stage. It would piss the hell out of me. So please win. And also, last trickling report, October 27th, Celtics will play Miami. Don't know if that'll be the season opener or not. My guess is no, because the season officially tips off on October 24th.
Yeah, it would be surprising to see the Celtics play their opening night 2-3 days into the regular season. But yeah, I mean, all sounds good. The preseason schedule is standard. I thought they'd play Toronto, but it looks like they're just going interdivision elsewhere and then to Charlotte to wrap it up. Sam, you hate Christmas anyway, so realistically, this would just make it a disaster for you.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you what, the NBA is really the only thing I like about it, so that part could be ruined for me too.
True.
Yeah.
That's good though. I don't mind it. And then the game against Miami makes sense. Probably just their first meeting, and it's probably their like opening week. Let's have good games the opening week to get people back into the NBA. So they'll put the Celtics in Heat there, which makes sense. But good so far. All good things.
Speaking of,
I think the trade
things to get fans into the early season of the NBA. Eyes peeled. Tuesday, August 15th. Apparently 3 p.m. ESPN's going to run a special on it. In-season tournament dates getting announced. We already know who the Celtics will have in their group. It will be them, Orlando, Toronto, Chicago, and last team who sucks.
Brooklyn? Is it Brooklyn?
Brooklyn. So they have probably the easiest group in the league. Does that mean they'll win it? Hopefully, but knowing them, they hate to beat bad teams, and they were kind of terrible against a couple of those teams.
Yeah,
Chicago
not good against
got the
Orlando.
piss beat out of them a couple times. Lost 3 out of 4 to Orlando, and we're 0-1 against the Nets after the trades with the current core.
Not great. Definitely not ideal. But
eyes peeled next week. Celtics blog preview on that from me.
There you go. But yeah, interesting. It's probably just going to be announced when those exactly who they're going to play and how many times they're going to play each team. But
one time.
Cool. Lakers. Yeah, one time each. Lakers on Christmas Day is fun.
Sorry. Tuesday.
Yeah, you're good.
And Fridays in November. Those will be the tournament nights for those that do not know.
Yeah, we already know who they're playing. They play each team once. Nets, Raptors. You just said it 2 seconds ago and I'm forgetting. Nets, Raptors, Bulls.
Nets, Raptors, Bulls, Magic.
Last one.
Yep.
Yes. So hopefully the Celtics can get through that. I like the Lakers on Christmas Day. Do we know what the other Christmas days are? I mean, I know we do, but like, do you know off the top of your head?
Knicks play the Bucks. Warriors play the Nuggets. Philly must play somebody. Who could that be?
Yes. Philly plays Miami. And then the Mavericks play the Suns.
Yes.
Mavericks play the Suns. Kind of a mid Christmas Day slate this year. I can't lie.
Is
I'm not a huge fan. I think so.
The Knicks will probably get stopped by Milwaukee, right?
Yep.
Okay.
I think Sixers Heat is fine, but it's just like, what's the draw? Like, what's
Jimmy Tobias Harris
Philly?
over me?
I think that's lame. I think they could have done better. Celtics Lakers is obvious. Mavericks Suns, Booker and Luka, they have their rivalry.
Those teams have a rivalry. The Mavs fans do not like Phoenix, so that is juice.
Yes. And then Warriors Nuggets is also fine, but like, I don't know. It just feels like you could have done a better job putting rival teams together, in my opinion. I don't know. It seems meh. I don't know what you could have done better because, like, realistically, what were the rivalries last year? The Nuggets just kind of stormed through everybody. The Nuggets just stomped through the playoffs. Like, what rivalries?
I kind of think the Nuggets are due to have a rivalry with the Warriors, and here's why: Denver was the team that was like the first casualty to this Warriors core, right? The Warriors ran through them in the playoffs. That was when they kind of came onto the scene, and everybody was like, "Oh my god, like the Warriors might be real." And then Iguodala either gets traded to the Warriors, or I think he just straight up signed there, leaves Denver. So there's a little bit of history to that. Warriors swept Denver in the playoffs last season on the way to their 4th title when they beat the Celtics. There's a little juice. Last 2 champions. That's an okay one. Again, Mavs, Phoenix, those teams don't like each other. There's the picture of Luka smirking at Booker as the Mavs are up 1 million in that game 7.
Yeah. Yeah, there's stuff. I think they should have put Lakers against the Nuggets to do a rematch of the conference finals last year, whatever.
Very competitive.
I think they should have stuck the Warriors against, I don't know. I think Celtics Heat should have been a Christmas Day. Like just from the way it's played out for the past 3 seasons. I think you could have then put Bucks Sixers, and that has a little more juice to it. The Knicks having a Christmas Day game is, I know it's always going to happen. It's dumb. It's stupid.
Well, this is like the
there's
best
no-
the Knicks have been. Like, this is the most deserving they've been of a Christmas Day game, and I don't like them.
Then just send Trae Young to MSG every year on Christmas. Right? Am I wrong? I'd watch. I'll watch Trae Young light up MSG every chance he gets.
Well, Giannis jumped over Tim Hardaway Jr. that one time at MSG.
True. That's also true. So maybe he'll do something fun. I don't know. Bucks at Knicks, Sixers at Heat, Celtics at Lakers, Mavericks at Suns, Warriors at Nuggets. They're all good games. I don't know. I feel like the rivalry is going to be a little bit better. But anyways, like the Celtics playing the Lakers, and then preseason. Are we going to do pregame shows or preseason?
What else are we going to be doing?
True. Maybe we'll be there. Maybe we'll be back. We'll see what happens.
What we did last year.
I think I wasn't here. I think I was away, so I don't think we can do preseason shows. But speaking of games and schedule and stuff, the Celtics are trying to get the All-Star game to Boston, Sam. The last time it was in Boston was in the 60s, I believe.
63?
A long time ago. It hasn't been in Boston for a long time. Wick Grossbeck talking to the Boston Globe, Adam Himmelsbach. We're on it. It's taking up planning time. The wheels are in motion. We're definitely going for it. And Sam putting in the show sheet here that I'm looking at. Why haven't they done this sooner?
It's true. Boston's a big market. Like, it's a real basketball market. Celtics are one of the most prestigious franchises, if not the most prestigious franchise in the league. Why have there not been more All-Star games here? Is it because they try and put them in cities to draw more interest from that, surrounding fan base? It always feels like they're in cities or destination cities. I guess nobody wants to go to Boston in the middle of February as like a big event weekend, but then they had it in Salt Lake City last year, right? But like New Orleans has had it twice in the last 10 years. Houston had it, like Orlando has had it recently. LA has had it a few times. I think they might have it this year. There's a lot of like warm city stuff to the All-Star game because it makes it a reward for these guys to go play basketball.
Well, then it was in Indy 2 years ago or like last year.
Was it?
So yeah, it was in Indy recently and Chicago.
Okay. Well, who knows? But still, Celtics should have had it by now. The reason why it might have been, I think,
Indy this year. My bad.
Okay.
Sorry. Indy this year.
I think the Celtics had it or haven't had it because it's going to cause problems at North Station, which is right underneath the Garden. All the trains in there
Possibly.
and everything. So many extra people will be in town. It might block up the commuter rail. All those trains. I don't know.
Commuter rail, the T, all that
You're
stuff.
the train guy.
The Boston Globe says mostly a byproduct of tepid interest within the city and among the team's ownership groups. So it just sounds like the city doesn't really care for it. And like that would make sense what you said because the T would be disgusting if the All-Star game was in town.
Rat list.
That would be horrendous.
That would be like all-time rat list, atomic bomb going off rat list for you, especially if you went to cover it with Celtics blog and you're trying to get there on the train and there's just like the Avengers, like everybody is on the train. It's like the end of Endgame when they come out of the portals. Just everybody's on the train with you.
That would absolutely be tough.
I would go.
I
would go to the game. Or at least I go to something. I don't even give a shit about that stuff. I mean, you've seen me in the last 2 weeks fumble on like, this guy was an all-star, this guy wasn't an all-star. Wait, what? Jalen Brunson wasn't on the all-star team? Jaren Jackson wasn't an all-star, was he? Like that kind of stuff. Like I don't pay attention to this, but I would go. It's an event.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it'd be a fun thing to have in Boston, just the festivities at the very least. Interesting. It at least brings some sort of intrigue. Yeah. Well, I more meant like all the stars of the NBA. I don't think many celebrities would make the trip, but the celebrity game actually would have to be in Boston, so there would actually be celebrities. So
where it would be? Would it be like Emerson?
No, they do it at TD Garden because it's a different night, right?
No, they have the rookie sophomore game or whatever. Team USA, Team World, all the young players showcase on Friday. Then they have All-Star Saturday night. Then they have the All-Star game on Sunday, but they also have the celebrity game on Friday, but I think it's at a different place. Usually these cities have it at a smaller arena, like where the G League team plays.
Really?
I believe so, yeah.
I didn't know that. I thought it was in the same arena. Huh. Interesting. Yeah, just throw them at like Emerson or Emmanuel or some random college in Boston.
Bunker Hill Community College.
Yeah, Boston College. Boston College probably actually be.
Just have them outside.
Yeah.
Park.
Why not? Throw them out in the streets. See what happens. All right. Next thing we have is Rick Barry. Not a fan of Jaylen Brown's contract. I don't know what podcast he was on. I should have found it, but I am struggling with Wi-Fi as it is, so I didn't do enough research. I can look it up as we're talking. But quote from Rick Barry on Jaylen Brown's contract, and I will look up the podcast it was on after this. You look at some of the contracts they have, like Brown, $306 million. I mean, that's just hard for me to believe. You know what his average in the playoffs for them is 18.5 points a game. I mean, 18.5 points a game. He's going to make $69 million last year's contract, but 18.5 points a game, that's nothing. Seriously. To pay somebody that kind of money, he's a nice player. I really like him, but man, he's got to improve his game. He turns the ball over too much. He tries to force things. And so is his teammate Tatum. That's one of the reasons they lost the Warriors 2 seasons ago. They make too many turnovers. Shut up, Rick Barry. Stop talking. Like it's just
What
stupid.
do I say?
He had a bad playoff run.
They got to stop giving these guys microphones.
Yes.
It's just like he clearly doesn't understand team building. Whether you think Jaylen Brown from an outside perspective is worth $306 million, or it's actually $304 million, but $304 million, it doesn't matter. He's worth that to the Celtics. He's worth that in his role. The Celtics have made more conference finals than Rick Barry did in his playing career in the last 4 years. I mean, why is this such a talking point around the league? If it was any other team, the talk would be they are so close to winning a title. Of course, they have to keep these guys together. I understand as Celtics fans and media members, we hold the team to a different standard. They've won 17 championships. They should be winning championships. They should have won in 2022. They didn't. They choked it away, had a chance to take a commanding lead over the Warriors and just didn't do it. They didn't lose game 4 because of turnovers. They lost it because they shot 1 million threes at the end. It was tough. And Curry was on fire.
Yeah, definitely. And this, by the way, I found it. He was talking to Joy D'Angelo for the Big Three, and he was talking about the contract. I just love how the context is, let's cherry pick a statistic and say he doesn't deserve it because of this statistic. Like, that's just the laziest form of criticism. He averaged 18 in the playoffs. Does he really deserve this money? Yeah, there's no context. That's definitely all you need to have to make that argument. It's just lazy. Like you said, just stop giving these guys microphones but not us. We can have microphones. But seriously, like, I think there's a difference between having a conversation and talking about stuff to I played in the NBA, like just cherry pick my quotes. And like, I don't know if Rick Barry like truly believes like Jaylen Brown's a bad player. Realistically, the topic of the conversation was probably like, this is a lot of money in the NBA nowadays. And it was probably like, you could have had some nuance to it. You could have said, what do you think of the contracts? And like, realistically, Rick Barry probably understands like, yeah, you can't really let a player like that go and just pay him nothing, right? Like, he probably does understand that, but that's not what the quote these people want are. The quotes and then I'm not talking about like Joy D'Angelo, the interviewer, either, but like, so often you see it all the time. You see it with Paul Pierce. What do you think of Dwayne Wade? They're like just trying to inch these players to say some shit that can go viral on Twitter. That's all that happens nowadays.
I'm telling you, they just got to stop giving these guys microphones. This is the worst time of the year for retired NBA player to be talking. Because we have nothing else to do. Here we are talking about it. We're giving it the shine that he or the interviewer wanted. It's frustrating. I just get sick of talking about this stuff. None of it's valid. The Paul Pierce, Dwayne Wade thing's stupid. Wade's about to go in the Hall of Fame. So he's starting to kind of make a media tour, and Pierce is getting pissed off for whatever reason. People keep just leading him into traps, and he's falling for it. You have Antoine Walker coming out, giving out like top 10s. Dr. J was giving out a top 10. And like, he didn't have Bird in it and people were pissed. Like, there's just so much of this crap going on with like former players talking. Everybody has a podcast now and none of them are really making great points, which isn't always the point of a podcast, I guess. Like, you want to have fun, but like, nobody's having fun with this. Nobody cares about the Paul Pierce, Dwayne Wade thing. We posted a video about it and nobody cared. Nobody cares.
Even like, excuse me, sorry. Even like Paul George had Klay Thompson on his podcast, and Klay was saying stuff, and Devin Booker responded like like there was drama. Devin Booker was like in Paul George's Instagram comment saying, "Did you get the response you wanted?" And Paul George was like on his Twitch stream and said like, sorry ass reply or whatever. It's just like this is bound to happen, and it's probably realistically these sort of thoughts and interactions have probably happened for a long time. It's just with social media now, everybody gets to see them, everyone gets to know about them, and players who haven't played basketball in a million years are having mics put in front of them and forced to talk about the game. Now, like, remember last year when JJ Redick said, Bob Cousy sucks or whoever it was, and he was just like ripping into all these old players, and like I saw a clip on TikTok the other day, and it was like basketball influencers or whatever, like these TikTok creators who were like, I like who they are. It's the Broadcast Boys. Have you seen them?
No.
On social media? They're fun. I like them. But somebody asked a question to NBA player, I can't remember who it was, and it was just like, who do you think has a better handle, Bob Cousy or JJ Redick? And they're like, probably JJ Redick. Bob Cousy would dribble to his left with his right hand. And it's like, that's not a knock on what Bob Cousy accomplished. This is my thought process in the whole thing. Just since this is the rabbit hole we've gone down after talking about Rick Barry, talking about Jaylen Brown.
Right.
I'm not like going to sit here and say Rick Barry had a bad career. Rick Barry had a phenomenal career.
Oh, he
Bob
did.
Cousy had a phenomenal career, right? Like these are amazing basketball players. Absolutely. These are amazing basketball players. They are not as talented as today's basketball players. That's just a fact. That
and also, unfortunately for them, they didn't make as much money. Like guys started making money in the NBA in like the last 10 years. KG was the highest paid NBA player ever, and he made less money throughout his whole career than Jaylen Brown will make in the next 5 years. And KG was one of the all-time greats at his position. People compare him to the greatest power forwards of all time, the whole nine. But guys today are making so much more money. I can understand if there's jealousy too. And I don't know if that's necessarily the fuel for this, but I can see it.
It's like the student loan debt, how like all these older people said, we had to pay our student loan, so you have to pay your student loan.
I have a friend or two that says that.
Yeah. No, but like, it goes back to like you could, and this doesn't necessarily count for like the all-time greats. Like Michael Jordan would be elite today, right? Like Wilt Chamberlain would find a way to be great. All these like top 10 players, top 20 players of all time, they would find a way to have a role and be impactful, be great. But to say that, and this is coming from a Celtics guy, to say that Bob Cousy is like gonna be a X-time champion and be as talented. These guys are jumping over cars in high school. Like, it's just like people just evolve. It's evolution, right? Do you know what I'm saying? This is like, fish, all that time ago, for those who are, maybe don't believe in science, fish grew feet and walk on land now. That's how evolution works. People grow, right? Like stuff happens. No. People, mad at me in the comments if you want. This is science and you can get angry. Darwinism, literally.
Darwinism is my favorite, but I always bring it up at different times. Like if I see somebody doing something that's like dangerous, I'm like, Darwinism. There you go.
No, but like players improve because players learn how to be better, and they learn how to maximize their strengths, and they get more athletic, and they train from a younger age and all these things. And that's not a knock on the careers these players had. Like Bill Russell is a top 10 player because he won those championships against players at that level, right? Like he played against players in that time, and he was better than those players at the time. LeBron James won championships in this era, and he was better than the players in his era. And that's why you can't really compare the two. And that's why it's hard to make these lists. But to hear, lists are tough, but we do them anyways. But to hear Rick Barry being like, well, he doesn't deserve this money. Put the microphone down, buddy. Just stop. Cut it. Just put it down.
I always say with this guy, like how good was, we'll say Bob Cousy, even though it's a bad example because I'm not convinced Bob Cousy would translate in today's NBA, even if he was born in the modern era, right? But my argument generally is if you plucked Bill Russell as an infant and you placed him in 1998 as an infant, he would have grown up and learned to play basketball in a different way. He still would have been physically gifted, and he sure as hell would have had the work ethic to become a great player.
Absolutely.
Does that mean if you plucked 29-year-old Bill Russell out of 1960 whatever and placed him in today's NBA that he would be overly effective? Probably not. But if these today, there's no doubting that they would still become great in some way. They have to be.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think that's a good point too. I never thought of it that way. But
Those arguments are always
I
so
don't know.
stupid to me. Like, yeah, of course.
Mhm.
Like, Bill Russell played basketball the way basketball was played in the 1960s. Of course, he's not shooting threes. He's not a stretch big.
Exactly. This is why Andre Drummond would have been a GOAT if he played in the 80s.
If you pluck Andre Drummond at 30 or let's say 26 and put him in the 80s, nasty.
He'd be disgusting. It's just the way he plays. It happens. But yeah, I don't know. Just these conversations get old very quick. We talked about Jason Tatum's 2K rating last time, Sam. Jaylen Brown got his 2K rating. I know you love 2K. Jaylen Brown's an 89 in 2K. And you put on here, which I did see as well, people on Twitter were complaining that Jamal Murray's an 88 and lower than Jaylen Brown. And so we spark more list debates. But realistically, I feel like 89 is a fair rating for Jaylen Brown. It makes sense.
I think it might be his highest ever.
I believe it.
The game, at least.
Yeah, I believe it. Maybe you argue for 90. As far as the Jamal Murray thing, Jamal Murray helped the Nuggets win a championship. Yes, it's not doubting that.
And he was awesome.
He's phenomenal. He was awesome in that playoff run. Do you think he's better than Jaylen Brown?
Right now, I don't think so. I think it's just a tough call. Like, Jaylen Brown was an All-NBA player last year.
I think the tier thing is where this comes to play. They're probably the same tier, but I think Jaylen Brown's probably a few spots ahead of him. That's where I would probably lean.
I would say that the rating suggests that they're on the same tier.
Exactly, but people are still complaining because it's August.
It's August. There's nothing to talk about. If it was flipped, I'm sure Celtics fans would be heated too. They'd be like, what the hell? Jaylen Brown made All-NBA. But the facts are there. I mean, Murray had an excellent playoff run. If you want to use recency bias, I think he was like 26 points, 7+ assists, and almost 6 rebounds per game, and he was efficient in that playoff run with Denver. He deserves.
But you know what? Why? Agree, absolutely. But do you know why that doesn't work? And why? And this isn't a knock on you. This is a knock on all the people who are complaining. The reason you can't do that is because if you only based ratings off that, Caleb Martin would be in 90. So that's not how life works, right? You have to take in the general scope of everything. Jaylen Brown was a second-team All-NBA player, and outside of, realistically, he didn't have a bad playoff. Like, Jaylen Brown had a pretty damn good playoff run outside of the Heat series, right? And up until that point, he was fine. He struggled in the playoff series, and the issue is that the last image of Jamal Murray etched in everybody's brain is a championship parade, and the last image of Jaylen Brown etched in people's brain is an 8-turnover game to lose in Game 7. So that's why people are complaining. But in the grand scheme of things, I'd probably still put Jaylen Brown above Jamal Murray, although it's like we're talking if Jaylen Brown's the 21st best player, Jamal Murray's 22nd, 23rd. You know what I'm saying? Like it's not like there's a huge gap, which is why really one's an 88 and one's an 89.
To see if 2K adds in more errors to their GM mode. Because I know we talked about this last time, but that is probably the most fun part of the game this year, where you can start a franchise mode in the 80s or the early 2000s. They don't have the 2010s, which I really think would be an interesting one. That was a really fun era of basketball. And then you can start in the modern day. But yeah, I would like to see more. I'd like to see 2012, start in 2012. All right, next one. Speaking of Miami in Celtics killers, Justin Champagnie, member of the Heat now. They've picked him up.
Yep.
Guaranteed contract or two-way?
No, training camp deal.
Training camp deal. Okay.
Yes.
Never a good sign when you release a player and then Miami picks him up.
Not good. Not good at all.
No.
Could this turn into a Max Drew situation?
Maybe. Did they pluck him off the Sioux Fall Sky last year? They Skyforce, their G League team? I think they did.
Oh, the Celtics? They might have.
Yeah, the Celtics plucked him from Miami. I think we even talked about this when we were like, they signed Champagnie. We were like, oh, like if he's not getting minutes with the Pro Heat team, that's not good. Like if they can't squeeze the skill out of him, but they're going back. They're circling back.
He did play 23 games with the Sioux Fall Skyforce. He averaged 18 points, 8 rebounds, 1 assist, shot 52% from the field, and 30.6% from
three. Oh, wait till this G League video comes out. I just remember our G League record. Is it tomorrow? Saturday?
No, the day after, because we have rankings coming out tomorrow.
Okay.
Or tomorrow, yes. I keep thinking it's Saturday because we usually record on Saturdays. We're recording a day early.
So you're seeing this Sunday.
So that'll be on Monday.
Tomorrow.
You're seeing this Sunday. Yes.
G League video coming out. Fire. Like you're gonna have a new favorite player. You're gonna be like, Celtics need to sign this guy. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. I cut it out of the video that released when I said it accidentally. I cut the word out so people don't know. People, if they watch the
You
channel,
should
they
have
don't
just
know who it
bleeped
is
it.
either. I should have, but I just cut it. I didn't want to find the bleep sound effect online, and I was just like,
All
I'll
right,
just cut it.
fine.
But there is that. Also, we'll give you an in-depth. Sam just messaged me phone Wi-Fi for the win about 10 minutes ago, and it's because you'll see a bunch of cuts, or maybe you won't. I don't know how bad the edit's gonna be. Hotel Wi-Fi is gonna make the rat list. Just be ready for later.
Phone Wi-Fi, clutch. I have phone Wi-Fi.
Phone Wi-Fi.
Actually, I'm not gonna tell it though.
Huge. We'll do rat list in a minute, but do we have one or two more Celtics things? Let me take a look here. Last Celtics thing we have.
Okay,
One more.
Yeah.
One more.
This is a long one.
Sam, I'm gonna let you.
We have entered the courtroom, ladies and gentlemen.
You were excited.
Okay, so for those of you that don't know, this has been a story that's gone on for a little while. I want to say 2021. This kind of all came out.
Couple years.
Tony Allen, Big Baby, Terrence Williams, all former Celtics, among 18 former NBA players who were accused of fraud, medical and dental claims from, I believe, their NBA healthcare, whatever plan that they get as players.
Yeah.
So Tony Allen and Big Baby have beaten the fraud charges.
Woo.
Tony Allen has paid back what he owes, but Terrence Williams, who played with the Celtics for a little bit, sentenced to 10 years in prison. And he has to pay up he has to forfeit $650,000 and pay $2.5 million in restitution. Or he already had to. No, he was ordered to. So he still has to pay it. And he's going to prison. Tough. Now, Glenn Davis clears all of this. Also involved, just in case you want other names, Shannon Brown, Melvin Ellie, Sebastian Telfair, Keon Dooling, and Alan Anderson, all involved.
Yeah.
Those last two sentenced to 20 or 30 to 24 months in prison. Also, this is how it went down. According to court documents, Terrence Williams recruited other benefits plan participants to the scheme. That's how it's written. In fairness to me, benefits plan participants to the scheme by, quote unquote, offering to provide them with false invoices to support their fraudulent claims. And medical professionals, including a dentist in California and doctors in California and Washington, provided Williams with those invoices, among other tactics. He submitted the fraudulent claims in exchange for kickbacks totaling at least $300,000. Now, this is not on the show sheet, but when this happened, you want to know how they caught them? All of them had appointments on the same days. They used the same invoices for every single guy. So all the fellas were heading to get a tooth checkup on the same day. Just like you, my girlfriend, and my dad all went to the dentist on that same day. Yes. You guys are all in a scheme together. But yes, Terrence Williams did not beat the charges. But this case has given us a plethora of comedy. Because not only these guys get caught in the most moronic way ever, but Big Baby got himself in even more trouble than he needed to be in the most moronic ways ever. If you don't remember, Big Baby was courtside at Celtics playoff games on national TV, and he had a probation house arrest type thing in California. He wasn't supposed to leave the state, and he's on national TV at TD Garden, just hanging out, second row, in somebody else's seats. He wasn't even in his own seats. He got caught on national TV with people asking him to move. Tough. He also tried to do a stand-up tour in Mass, tour in several small clubs.
Yeah, not a good look for Big Baby. That's the funny shit. I remember it was the 2022 playoffs, I believe.
Yeah. He was at the Tatum buzzer beater layup game.
Yeah. That's a commitment. I was laughing at Terrence Williams just going around guys, I have a great idea. He just went out, or Terrence Williams going around to all the fellas, guys, hear me out. I got this guy. He got a sheet. And like you said, they just photocopied the same sheet over and over again, the same invoice. He's like, no, don't worry. We're gonna make a lot of money. And then just clapped. Just done. Oh man. Yeah. But Tony Allen, Glenn Davis beat the charges. Shout out. They are they're free. They're not free. But
Big Baby probably was a dark horse not to go to jail on this one. He was really tested. I wonder if they were betting. He was like, look at me, I'm on TV, not where I'm supposed to be.
He tried real hard. I wish there were betting lines on it. All right. Let's move on to the NBA portion of the programming here. Let me pull up the blue as I get the hiccups. Tough look for me. Giannis is not going to be playing in FIBA, dealing with the knee issue, sitting out for the Greek national team, but they got the Nazis, I think, so they should be fine, right?
Correct.
But Giannis out. That's the news. Giannis is playing in FIBA. Is there anything else? Is there any other context you want to add?
He
here?
underwent a quote-unquote cleanup procedure on his left knee this offseason, according to ESPN, which left his status unclear for the FIBA World Cup. However, the Bucks expect him to be fully recovered in time for training camp in September. So it doesn't sound like Giannis is slowing down anytime soon, even though he's in the same conference as the Celtics. Giannis is the type of guy you kind of root for, so glad he's not seriously hurt. Don't really want to see his career get cut short. I like him. He hasn't given me a reason to hate him. He's not a prick. Not a rat. Brother, a little bit of a rat.
Yes. If you guys were curious, Sam doesn't like the Nazis, in case you're wondering.
Correct.
In case you're not new listeners of the podcast. But yeah, Giannis not playing for the Greek national team this summer, as he was expected to do. Next thing, ESPN wants Bob Myers. Reportedly, the former Warriors GM is close to reaching a contract with ESPN to be on NBA Countdown, which is like, sure, it's news, whatever. I guess it makes sense for him. Just a little weird. Also, something weird
Bob
ESPN's
Myers
doing. We can discuss it both. Yes.
Looking down at Mark Jackson as Mark Jackson has been pushed off the cliff. And Bob Myers, who fired Mark Jackson from being the Warriors head coach over a decade ago, comes in, takes a spot at the table at ESPN.
Very tough. Very tough. And the other ESPN news, Sam, you know how you dislike how Nike now has the jerseys because they can do whatever they want?
Yes.
ESPN opening a sports book.
Yes. Yeah. That
Rat
Penn
list.
left Barstool.
Now with ESPN.
Big Cat can bring back the can't lose parlays, though. Are you aware of that?
Good. No, I don't know the context.
So they made him stop promoting his parlays as quote unquote can't lose because they didn't want to mislead bettors.
Yeah.
And he had to go to court and have like everyone present how bad he is at betting, and everybody knows he's bad at betting. So he essentially just took like a beating for no reason because they got out of it.
That's so funny. That's amazing. Oh, because they were arguing it's like sarcasm, obviously.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. That makes sense. But yeah, out on the NBA opening sportsbook. I think that's stupid. Sam's Reddit post of the day. I like this as a new segment. Is this our new segment? I enjoy. Hit me.
Yeah, I mean, during the dog days of summer, the NBA summer subreddit does have some pretty good discussions. Today's was, what would you consider to be the biggest what if in NBA history? The poster, user JR9065, he says, mine is what if the Bulls won the coin toss over the Lakers for the 1979 NBA draft? In that circumstance, the Bulls take Magic at number 1. So many questions if that happens. Would Magic struggle in his early years like MJ did? Would Pippen and Magic end up being the greatest duo as Jordan and Pippen were? Ooh. Would Magic and Bird have a great rivalry? Does Bird end up being more successful? Who drafts Jordan? Does Jordan still have the same career he ended up having? Does Magic become the GOAT over Jordan? Are the Lakers no longer this renowned organization? Do Jerry Buss and the Buss family fade from relevancy? Does Shaq and Kobe go to the Lakers and have their run? Does Kareem get his rings on the Lakers? This is a massive what if. What do you consider the biggest what if? I'm not convinced that had Magic gone to Chicago, he would have been in a better situation than the Lakers. What do you think?
In terms of what ifs or the Magic thing?
Well, if Magic Johnson gets drafted by the Bulls, yes, they would not be as bad as they were in the years leading up to the Jordan draft, which was, 4 years after Magic comes into the league? But you have to imagine, like, they were still bad in those seasons. The roster was so bad that they got the number 3 pick. It's not like Magic's coming in, Kareem's not joining him, James Worthy isn't getting drafted. Like, there were some good pieces on those Lakers teams. They were excellent teams. I don't think he gets sent to Chicago. Just to the GOAT conversation of this post.
Absolutely not. I definitely think it changes things. I definitely think I think it's two different conversations almost, because in order to get stuff with that big of a ripple effect, you have to dig deep. But if you want to go like what ifs, like what if Derrick Rose doesn't get hurt? Do you know what I'm saying? Like you could take multiple angles to this conversation.
Is that one of your big what ifs?
I think it's up there. I mean, granted, I just looked up a list of like examples to refresh my memory. Another
cheating.
one is yeah, of course I'm cheating. Of course. One is what if Shaq doesn't lead the Lakers? I think that's a big one. What if Shaq and Kobe get along? What if Shaq and Kobe are cool? Yeah, exactly. Because they probably would have won a few more rings, right?
Yeah.
And that's realistically the biggest thing that changes. Another one. What if Tim Duncan joined the Magic? Remember that when that was a thing?
Yep.
Tim Duncan almost signed with the
drafted
Magic.
by the Celtics. Celtics were piss poor before that Duncan draft, and they got the shaft. I think they had 2 picks in the top 5. Neither one was number 1. With one of them, they picked Chauncey Billups. What if they kept Chauncey Billups?
Yep. Then there's the Chris Paul trade. There was what if Kevin Love was traded for Klay Thompson's a good one.
You still have not.
Remember when that was
number
thing?
1. What if ever?
Should I know this? Yes. There you go.
That is a huge one. That he was supposed to be a great prospect like Jordan. Celtics pick him in 1986 after having one of the best teams ever, best seasons ever.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine if he joins them. That 90s deficit the Celtics had probably never happens.
Yeah. No, I know what you're saying. If you want to talk just Celtics, what if the Nets GM, what if Danny Ainge couldn't fleece him? What if the Nets GM was competent?
Oh, that would be tough. I think right? I think the 2010s would have been a little interesting, though, because you would have had really cool, like, farewell moments for Garnett and Pierce. Like, I think they would have probably stuck around. I'm sure he had other deals in place, though. I think Danny would have just still worked to get that done. I don't think he would have sat on those guys.
Mm-hmm. Fair.
What
Greg
if KG
Oden,
comes earlier? He always talks about that. He's like, I wish I got to Boston earlier. The fans rock.
Mm-hmm.
Pierce going at Dwayne Wade. What if I had KG and Ray earlier? So I guess that's a little bit of a question. What if the Celtics win the lottery and get KD? Pierce doesn't have as much of a legacy here. Right?
Yeah.
KD would rule. What if the Blazers knew how to draft?
I have an article. I was just going to say, what if the Trailblazers could actually draft players? Right? And ready? I'll read them off here.
Yep.
The worst draft picks in Portland Trailblazers history. LaRue Martin, first overall, over Bob McAdoo at 2nd and Julius Erving at 12. Tough. Tough. Bob McAdoo right there. Ugly. Wally Walker, 5th overall. 6th overall, Adrian Dantley. 8th overall, Robert Parrish. Very tough for the Trailblazers. 1978, Michael Thompson, 1st overall. Larry Bird went 6th. Good try, Portland. 2nd, 1984, Sam Bowie at 2. Michael Jordan at 3. 2007, Greg Oden number 1, KD number 2. 2017 draft, Justin Jackson over OG Anunoby, Kyle Kuzma. That's not as impactful, but still on the list. And then another one. Remember when they took Thomas Robinson? So what I was thinking of.
Him over?
Remember that name? Let's take a look here.
No, I remember Thomas Robinson, but I do not remember what draft.
I think the Kings drafted Thomas Robinson. Yeah, sorry, the Kings did. I mixed it up because he was on the Portland Trailblazers after. And the reason I mixed it up is because Thomas Robinson went 5 and Dame went 6. So they actually hit that one. My bad, Portland. But Blazers not very good at drafting. This we know. So tough for the Blazers. But all right, do we have any more NBA stuff? We have a trade. Yeah, we have a trade article here. I think we can. I'll talk about my Hall of Fame escapades, and then we can do the rat list. All right, so I'm at the Hall of Fame. We can talk. I'll just talk about some of the quotes.
Not yet.
This briefly. Yeah, I'm not at the Hall of Fame yet. I am in Uncasville, I think is what it's called. Uncasville.
Jack is at Mohegan.
I'm at Mohegan. Went to the press conference today. It was good. Pop is hilarious. He they go, what keeps you coming back? And he just goes immediately. They go, so Pop is like this long, eloquent question. So many years you're finally doing this. What keeps you coming back? Without it missing a beat, money. He just goes, give me money. And he starts slamming the table, money, which was amazing.
Did you get to ask Pop a question?
I didn't know. It was very planned out, and I also didn't want to get in the way of like. People came from San Antonio. People came from all these places. I didn't feel like I deserved to ask a question, if that makes sense. But
no, I get it.
Anyways, yeah, it's maybe a respect thing. But excuse me. He told another story about Tony Parker, and apparently, when Tony Parker came to San Antonio for the first draft workout, and this is I want to pull up my terribly taken notes here because I was taking a video and I couldn't take good notes. He said. Tony Parker, first draft workout in San Antonio, verbatim from Pop. I hated him. He was a weenie. Straight out of Pop's mouth. He's at a press conference in front of like a couple hundred people. And he's talking about Tony Parker's first draft workout. He goes, yeah, I was telling RC Buford, the Spurs GM. He's like, at the time I was like, yeah, I hate him. Verbatim, he goes, he was a weenie. I said, no, I don't want him back. And then they brought him back, and he was like, we brought in a bunch of thugs from San Antonio, like just these players who would just beat him up and like mess with him, and he just kicked their ass. And then I was like, all right, yeah, we'll take this guy. I'll eat my words. And everything happened. Tony Parker took the stand, and they asked him like, how does it feel to be inducted with Pop? He goes, I can't get rid of this guy, which was funny. They asked Jerry Colangelo, like, why is it taking Pop so long to get inducted? And he was like, Pop just didn't want to go in until all his guys were in. And so now that Tim is in and Manu and now Tony. And he actually said, like, Pop is specifically after Tony on, like, the docket in order because he wanted, like, all of his guys to get in first, which is kind of cool. Yes. Who else talked?
Wade.
Pau Gasol talked. Dwayne Wade did talk. Trying to remember like fun things.
Dirk.
Excuse me. Dirk did talk. I took more notes on the Spurs guys because like I cover them for Spurs Wire. Apparently Tim Duncan didn't talk to Tony Parker for the first year of their career. He's just like, nah, until Tony Parker like killed the Sonics in like the playoffs. Tim Duncan just didn't talk to him. So that's funny. I think that's all the funny stuff I can remember. Tony Parker called Dirk the GOAT of European basketball. Probably possible. Oh, they asked Dirk, they're like, what does it feel to be inducted with like the Spurs and Pop and Tony Parker? And he goes, I can't lie, I hated the Spurs. They were annoying as shit. He was like, those guys are a pain in my ass for so many years. So that was funny. And yeah,
somebody asked Pau Gasol what it felt like to be the worst European player in this class.
That's crazy, isn't it?
I know. You could probably argue him over Tony Parker. Did Parker? No, he didn't get a Finals MVP. He played out of his mind in 2013.
Tony Parker won a Finals MVP.
Did he?
Yeah, 2007.
Okay.
He did. And I only know that because I heard it a bunch of times today. Tony Parker talked about how like 2014 championship was his favorite because like it took them. I didn't like. You never think about it this way. It took them 7 years to get back. People talk about the Warriors like, oh my god, it took them so long to get back. The Spurs went 7 years between titles with the same core. That's crazy. Like that's nuts to think about. Like they were going up against two different completely different eras of players at that point. There was like playing against Kobe, Dirk, and everybody. Now we're gonna play against LeBron and KD. Like just two different eras, and they won both, which is nuts. And then it got me thinking again. This is a conversation I would just like have an internal dialogue and think about. That Dirk title might be the most impressive championship of all time. Genuinely, like no, it's up there.
Kept LeBron.
It's crazy.
Tip of the cap.
Exactly. No, like you think of he said it today, and you'll enjoy this. He was like that Blazer series. I think was the hardest series we had that playoffs. And he was talking about how like I think we just got hot at the right time. He was talking about 2011, but you look at that run they went on, dude. They beat so many stars, and like I think he was the only All-Star on the team. They beat the Dame Blazers early. Was Dame on the team yet? It was the LaMarcus Aldridge Blazers. Brandon Roy, LaMarcus Aldridge Blazers. Yeah, they beat Kobe's Lakers. They beat the young
OKC
Thunder squad with KD, and then they beat obviously the LeBron Heat in the finals. Like how they won that title is nuts. Like they had a solid team, but it's like Dirk, old Jason Terry, Caron Butler who got hurt, old Sean Marion, Tyson Chandler, young JJ Barea, Peja Stojakovic was on that team. Like this is just a bunch of veterans. Jason Kidd was 37 at the time. It's crazy. They had 5 players play over 30 minutes a night, and nobody else cracked 20. They were just rolling out the stars. They're like, nope, you guys are gonna run us into the ground, and we're gonna go with it. They ran out Jason Kidd, Jason Terry, Dirk, Sean Marion, Tyson Chandler, and they said, "Here you go, guys." And Deshaun Stevenson started those games. Jason Terry was the 6th man, but Deshaun Stevenson played 18 minutes a night in the starting lineup. Like it's crazy. I did a whole project, excuse me, sorry, brain fart there. I did a project where I looked for the most impressive final like win champion ever. Like have I told you about this? This was a couple years ago. I did it for my master's program. I looked at all the stats. Like I looked at yeah, I looked at relative offensive rating. I looked at relative defensive rating to see how dominant they were in the regular season, as well as net rating and season win percentage. Then I looked at the cumulative regular season win percentage of all their playoff opponents. Then I looked at what I called the star power factor, where I factored in like, okay, had they won an MVP, and it's just basically looking at the last 3 years of all the players in their roster. Like, if they have an MVP in the past 3 years, they get 10 points. And if they like won 2, like Giannis went back to back, they get 20 because he was that dominant. He won it 2 years in a row. Like he was the best player 2 years in a row. I did it with DPOY and without DPOY because that wasn't invented until a certain amount. I adjusted MOV, margin of victory, like how much they beat teams. And like, I looked like who was the biggest like underdog to win. Like the regular season win percentage of those, the teams that the Mavericks played in the playoffs, like they're beating really good teams. Like it's crazy to me. Like they had like the top 10 most difficult road to a championship in the last 50 years. Like it's impressive. And they did it with one all-star. Like the star power on that team, or the star power factor I had. Now you're just getting me to nerd out on numbers. We'll get to the Ratless in a second. Apologies. You guys are going to hear me ramble for a second here. The star power factor on that 2011 Mavericks team was the 7th worst in the last 50 years. They had a 40 star power, and that's from just Dirk's All-NBA awards. And
they
Tyson
had
Chandler
stars, they just were old.
Yeah, like past their prime stars. Like,
Yes.
and for like context of, oh, well, what's a good star power? Like 40 is what the Mavericks had. Remember that? The best star power, the 2017 Warriors had 139 star power. You know, like that's the context for you. So it's crazy. And that's not even a new thing either. Like the top star power is 2017, 1983, 2018, 1976, 2012. Like it's just like a matter of the times. Like those Bulls teams had over 100 for most of them. So yeah, it's just crazy that they were able to win a championship with Dirk. And so I always think that's cool because it's just random. Like he's one of the guys who, if without that championship, what's the narrative around him like?
Big
and
fraud.
On top of that, like, yeah, exactly. But on top of that, like the fact that he was able to get it, he goes from Charles Barkley, like, yeah, it's a good player, could never do it, to like he's a fucking GOAT. Like, how did he win that shit? So shout out to him. Anyways, I've rambled about the Hall of Fame stuff for long enough. Let's do the rat list so we can get out of here.
All right.
Hit me.
You or me?
You can go first. I'll let you lead.
All right. Let me change the thing.
Sorry. Yes. I'm editing a show sheet. Sam can put Mather out of the screen.
No problem. All right.
There you go.
Rat list.
Thank you, sir.
Showcase Cinema.
Ooh.
I went to the movies last night. And
yep.
I went to see Barbie with my girlfriend. She wanted to go. First of all, the movie ruled. Hilarious. One of the funniest movies I've seen in a while.
I want to see it.
It just hit on all the things like I think are really funny. Like it might not be super funny to everybody. For me, it was like they made this movie for me. In terms of like punchlines, just things they made fun of. So that was the best. But the worst, we arrive at the theater. Now, this is the third time I've been to the movies this week. Different theater than I've gone to. All showcase theaters. But
yep.
The previous 2 times I'd gone, they have these specialty popcorns where it's like flavored popcorn. It's not the traditional butter popcorn. They have like Oreo popcorn, caramel popcorn, etc. I knew I was going to the movies all day yesterday. And I thought about that Oreo popcorn all day yesterday. And they didn't have any Oreo popcorn when I got to the stand.
Very tough. Yeah.
That was bend over, grab your shorts, exhaustion of just like disappointment all day.
Jimmy Butler in the bubble.
Yes. Exactly.
Bend over. Brutal scenes. I'll rat list hotel Wi-Fi. I alluded to it earlier in the show. Struggle bus. I'll give you some insight here. I won't share the screen. My edit notes are 3 minutes, check. 6 minutes, check. 7 minutes, check. 10:30, check. 13:15, check. 15:11, 15:50, 17:20. First 20 minutes of the show were impossible. Switched to the phone Wi-Fi, W phone Wi-Fi.
Jack was beside himself.
I was very angry. Well, it's not even because like it'd be one thing if I lag and came back because then that's easy to edit it. Half of it was like you're talking, you stop talking, but I don't hear you stop talking for 5 seconds, and then you start talking again, but then I start talking at the same time. It was just a mess, and it was terrible. It was the worst kind of lag, so I was pissed off. So rat list the hotel Wi-Fi, even though this is actually a pretty nice hotel room, so I'm not going to complain. It's fine. but Wi-Fi.
Rat List service today's lunch. Went up to lunch with the boys today on a day where I feel like I'm just going to have a big day. One of those things, you're hungry. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to get 20 wings instead of 10.
Damn.
I'm like looking at the menu, couple seasonings, couple sauces I would like to try. It says you can get 1 per 10 wings. So I'm getting 20. Of course I can get 2. I'm like, hey, can I do 20 wings? I will do 10 lemon pepper, 10 barbecue. Then she says to me, oh, like, I can't do that. I can give you like barbecue sauce on the side. I was like, whatever. I'll just take them all lemon pepper. My order comes out. She has put in an order of 10 wings for me instead of 10.
Oh, no.
And then she's like, yeah, you can have like the other sauce now. It's like, thanks.
Disaster. She was looking out for you. She was counting the calories for you.
Well, it doesn't matter. I planned.
Yeah,
I knew what my budget was when I went to lunch. I said, this is, I'm going to rip through the wings. It's what I feel like doing today.
Unfortunate. Ratless Mohegan Sun. Oh, Ratless the casino. Not because of the casino
You
itself.
haven't even gone yet. They haven't taken your money yet.
I know. No, so I get there. Underestimate how massive this place is. Huge. It's obscenely huge.
Yes.
Right? Find parking. It's like 5 minutes from my hotel. Easy, right? Get there. Park, go inside. Do a maze. Takes me 5 to 10 minutes just to find the place that was supposed to be in the building, right? Like I get in the building, 5 to 10 minute walk inside to find the place I was supposed to go. Get outside what seems to be the press conference room. But on the like media relations thing they sent us, it said Cabaret Theater is where the press conference is, but the Cabaret Ballroom is where you pick up your credentials. So in my head, like there's 2 different places, right? They're probably close, but there's 2 different rooms. So I get there. It doesn't make it immediately clear, like, okay, where's the ballroom? Where do I pick this up? Get to the theater. I asked somebody outside, and my social, skills, or not the skills, but anxiety. I don't like talking to people. Basically, we've determined this on the show. So I am out and about by myself because Cam Tabat, who was supposed to go with me, couldn't make the first day because Ricky Bobby, his dog, was sick. Get well soon, Ricky Bobby. Shout out on the podcast. Wasn't there, so I'm alone. Get there, ask somebody. I'm like, hey, do you know where I'm supposed to pick up my credentials? He's like, oh yeah, you go around there. If you go up past MJ's, do this. I'm like, MJ's like, I don't even know what the fuck this is. Apparently, Michael Jordan has like a restaurant or something. It's weird,
yes,
right?
He does.
Find it, whatever. Go around, get in there. Go up there. Couldn't find it. No, nothing. Ask somebody else while I'm walking. Hey, do you know where I'm supposed to go for this? They go, oh, you're supposed to go here. And I said, somebody said MJ's. And then the guy he was with is like, oh yeah, MJ's. You just go up the stairs and MJ's is there. And so I'm thinking like, oh, okay. So I just missed it. I go up the stairs because they point me in the direction of the stairs. Nothing. Nothing by MJ's. Couldn't find anything. Get to a concierge. Hey, do you know where this is? He goes, yeah. Go down the stairs. Take a left. Pass there. I'm like, and he goes, go past the Players Club. I'm like, all right, fine. Couldn't find the Players Club. Found it eventually. Got past it. End up exactly where I left off. I'm like, oh my God. I asked the security people. I'm like, do you know where I'm supposed to pick these up? They go, inside. Just in the place where I started. It was where I started. It was literally just through the security scanner is where the media passes were. And all these people are telling me go here, there, and everywhere. And on the sheet, it says different places. It was the same place. It's the same thing. So I was very mad because I walked around the Mohegan Sun like an idiot for 25 minutes trying to find where I was supposed to pick up my passes when I went to the right place.
Catastrophic.
It was just annoying. And like, it's not that like it took a lot of time. It's that I asked these people, where do I pick this up? And they just told me to leave where I was supposed to. It was very frustrating. I was very annoyed after a while. But yeah, we found it eventually. Also, they didn't give us the Wi-Fi, and maybe I asked the wrong person. So I was just using phone Wi-Fi there too.
Phone Wi-Fi has been the savior today.
It's been fine. But I started the press conference at 70% battery. And so when you're taking 10 to 20 minute videos of each press conference and using the phone Wi-Fi and using Bluetooth, left at 10. It was a disaster. Anyways, not fun. Mohegan Sun Ratless, or whatever you want to call it there. That was a Ratless story.
Ratless story.
I was mad. Put it that way.
Very fair.
What do you got?
I had one. I lost it.
Oh no. Disaster.
It is a disaster.
I was gonna Ratless traffic, but the traffic wasn't terrible. Oh, I was driving around last night, or like coming home from an errand or whatever. I was driving home basically, on a road in my town. This isn't in like a part of my trip. It's a different rat list. I'm going like the speed limit, right? It's late. Nobody's on the road. I'm listening to music. I'm not like in any rush. I'm vibing, right? I'm not speeding. It's not like traffic day or hours. I'm just chilling, right? Hanging out as you do.
Sure.
And this is like a 40-mile-an-hour road. It's not like a highway road. And there are dotted yellow lines, which is fine. Dude rides my ass for 2 minutes and then passes me going like,
ooh, I watched
70.
somebody do that.
Rat list. Just why? Like, what's the purpose? Like, normally I'd be like, all right, fine. They have the right to pass me. They turned like 100 feet in front of me. You're in that big of a rush. You couldn't have waited an extra 30 seconds to turn. Just like, what are we doing? It was a truck, of course, in case you're wondering, in case you couldn't piece it together, because of course it was, because they are compensating.
I remembered what my rat list was. So yesterday I was waiting to pick up my girlfriend from her, whatever she was doing. Sure. And pull in the parking lot. It is a small parking lot. It is at a dead end of a road in Providence, which is fine. And I decided to myself, I pulled in. Let me turn around and back in. That way I can just drive right out, get away. So I start to move back out. So all of a sudden, everybody decides they would like to come to this area and drive and pull in. So I'm in the midst of backing out. Somebody's trying to pull in. Another person's behind them. Becomes a whole fiasco. I finally get to back in. But it took me much longer than it should have. That is not a day ruiner, but it is a raise your blood pressure moment. I think we have some rat lists that we should be reading.
I've got it on my phone.
Yes.
Don't you worry.
Would you like me to pull it up on the screen?
Sure, if you'd like to, yeah.
Okay, let me see.
I can move Matt the Rat if you pull it up. Actually, I can probably pull it up pretty quick because I have YouTube tabbed and the bookmarks tab on my computer. Give me 1 second. But
I'm already there.
As we ask, all right. As we ask every episode, leave your rat list in the comments. We will read them. We will put them on the screen here. This is, I don't know why we haven't been doing this all the time. This is super fun. It's a great way to engage. And we appreciate you guys. I think we have two people who, I think there are multiple rat lists, but I think two separate people submitted rat lists that we should be reading today.
Okay.
So pull it up here.
All right.
And read it out, Sam. Let's see what we got.
Joey Spatula, big friend of the show. Rat list, the olds who suddenly act like they can't read when they walk up to my window.
People are going to get injured next year. The Celtics aren't going to have an immaculate season. It happens. Why am I hearing myself? You're going to get hurt. Is the video playing? I was like, what? I'm hearing myself talk here.
Ratless Jack, he just can't control himself. Ratless, the olds that suddenly act like they can't read when they walk up to the window of Joey Spatula's food truck.
Shout out Ironclad.
I guess they're just not. They're not there. They're not ready.
Small tangent, not ratless, but just cool. Joey Spatula, legend of the podcast comments, messaged me today, and apparently somebody went to Ironclad's Eatery, left a review on the truck saying, "How about them Celtics?" Is how he learned about it. That is so cool because I was talking to somebody last night, and I know Sam feels the same way. It's all like I see the views and I see people watch us, but it never really connects that these views are real, like humans that actually like watch the show. Do you know what I'm saying? So like to hear that somebody listened to our podcast, heard about Ironclad's Eatery, and then went to the food truck to try it. That's so cool. Also, fire t-shirts. 1 second. I think I brought it on my trip because it's comfy.
I have mine, just not on my person. It's in the closet, but it rules. Very good.
Look at this. Shout out Joey Spatulas.
The man.
Comfy. Legend. But yeah, I think it's super cool that somebody listened to our show and went to try it. Sam and I will be going up to Maine at some point this season to catch a game and go to a game with Joey Spatulas. We appreciate you, Joey. Anyways.
Okay. Final two rat lists, both from our friend Ted. First, rat list. People at busy ice cream places that can't decide what flavor to order holding up the line. There's a Curb episode of this where Larry and his manager Jeff go into a frozen yogurt shop and this lady is just ripping free samples. And Larry has had enough, yells at her. And she turns out to be the dean of the school Jeff's daughter's trying to get into. So they have to give her flowers. So Larry steals flowers from a roadside memorial and then has to go steal them from the woman after he gives them because it was unmoral to take them from a memorial. A gravesite. And then ratless people that drive 55 in the passing lane and won't move. Yes, agree.
Agree.
Good rat list.
Absolutely agree. Good rat list from Ted there. Yeah, no, good. Glad you guys are getting involved in the rat list. If you are listening still, leave your rat list in the comments. We will read them. And I think that'll do it for us today. Sam, you don't have any more rat list, do you?
No rat list. No
All
more.
right. Well, excuse me. In that case, thank you guys for listening to How About Them Celtics. We appreciate you very much. As I had the hiccups as I'm doing the outro, I ate a bunch of food because I was starving before the podcast. So tough luck for me. But thank you guys for tuning in to How About Them Celtics. Join 1,160 others. Hit that subscribe button. We appreciate you very much. Make sure to leave us 5 stars on Apple and Spotify. We actually have a lot more audio listeners than we realize because we're looking at the YouTube comments so much. So we appreciate you audio listeners out there. Thank you very much. Leave us 5 stars if you're there. And if you would like to be mean to us, do it in the YouTube comments or be nice in the YouTube comments.
Just
Leave a rattle.
straight
Be
bully
nice.
us.
Yeah. Do what you need to. But thank you for tuning in. Leave a comment. My favorite part of my day every day. And I'll let Sam take us out.
Yes, thank you very much for listening or watching. If you're on the YouTube, make sure you subscribe, join over 1,160 others, and hit the notification bell. Make sure you don't miss any of our daily uploads this summer. They're coming at you. You definitely don't want to miss the G League one tomorrow. You can find us on Spotify and Apple as well. You can leave a like, or not a like, a 5-star review, say something nice, and you can follow us on socials at How About Them C's. That's Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Our Facebook page is just the name of the pod. You can find Jack on Twitter at JackSimoneNBA. You can find me at Sam LaFrance NBA. That's it for us. Bye.